March 3rd at 3:33 a.m. Blood red eclipse. Will the magic begin? Cutting off the oil of China, probably not a smart idea. Somebody's got advance warning. The entire world's already moved to gold. Are we looking at a reset start here? And may you live in interesting times, the ultimate curse. And I guess, well, we are here right now. So in just a couple of days, on 3/3 at 3:33 a.m., a full blood moon eclipse will be at its peak. And 33 is one of those numbers, totality and the maximum 3:33, and that's Pacific Standard Time. So East Coast, it'll be just coming into sunrise, so we might not see it if you're on the East Coast. Bringing you over some magic here. Divina Filiofoth, which is divine philosophy. Kabbalift Magica, or Kabbalic magic. Divine philosophy of Kabbalic magic. Now, this is the Kabbalah. Now, you're very familiar with this, with the higher echelons of energy, much as the Buddhists would talk about enlightenment at the crown chakra. That is the very top there. And then we come down, and as the lower you go from the crown chakra, and it would be the third eye, would be the star there. And as we come down further in, we get into lower densities. And this just explains the ethereal to the material. This is very common. You can see this, a lot of iconography in here. But one I hadn't seen before that I was amazed with here is the actual structure of it, the scale of it. And this is the scale, Philosophum Kabbalisticia Magica. Same thing, the scale of the philosophy of Kabbalistic magic. Hadn't seen this one before, but it does that ebb and flow of energies, the expansion, the contraction, the expansion, the contraction. And you just have to wonder what numerology is involved in this expansion and contraction, because these days of 3/3s are quite well known. So here's the look at what's happening in the heavens through this year for just eclipses. So February 17th, we already passed that. That was the Ring of Fire eclipse. March 3rd, 3:33 a.m. on 3/3 blood red moon eclipse. And then August 12th, we have a total solar eclipse. August 28th, we have a deep partial lunar eclipse. And another full moon that's not in that list is the pink moon. April 12th, they call it pink moon because the blossoms are generally pink during that time. It's the full moon in April associated with the blooming flowers, the pink moon. Don't miss either of those. And also different types of glass, apparently, if we're filled with different liquids, would imbue different energetic properties depending on if it's manganese, selenium, cadmium, or uranium glass, also called depression glass. There's also cobalt glass is more of a blue on that as well. But if you were to put these goblets and different glass vessels out into the full moon, supposedly they're supposed to absorb energies at this time. And apparently it's an old technique used, well, as long as we had that manufacturing techniques. But further back, you had silver goblets, golden goblets, copper goblets, these sort of things. So that use of energy, and also solar energies, lunar energies, and actual energies of metals inside our whole human domain. And we're coming to a very powerful time on the 3rd with this full lunar eclipse. It'll turn the moon red. Now, the world is, well, as you can see, it's being flipped upside down currently. So you have to ask, what's the timing on all of this with such powerful days coming up? It wasn't to start. It's in motion during this time. So just use your imagination. What do you think could occur? I'm not sure either. That's why I'm asking the question. If you have any ideas, put them in the comments below. I'd love to read them. Because with any end of the world four horsemen scenario, you got the locust plagues, got to have it. It's one essential element in the end times. Locust plagues, blood moons. What else could we drop in there? What powered the world in 2024, 25, and now 2026, obviously. So this is all Visual Capitalist. They always put together a really great chart. Shout out to y'all over there. Oil, natural gas, and coal are what makes the world run. Now, because of this, the supply chains that we currently have, there's a lot of choke points around them. Malacca Strait, you can choke off over there. Straits of Hormuz, that's another one. They got the Red Sea up there. The rules of money are being rewritten right in front of your eyes. The institutions that control the financial system aren't waiting, warning, or wishing. They're acting. They're buying gold and silver in an unprecedented pace. Seems they're preparing for something. The question is, are you? For nearly a decade, Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands of people protect their wealth with physical gold and silver. As the world shifts to hard assets, the window to act is closing. So let Noble Gold show you how simple it is to protect yourself and your family. While everyone else is reacting to the news, Noble Gold clients are positioned. They understand that when the rules change, you need assets that don't depend on the system. Visit 2030gold.com and download your free wealth protection kit today. That's 2030gold.com. The rules are changing. Make sure you're ready. And the February bonus for new qualified accounts, the 3-ounce American Virtues Independent Silver Round. Again, that's 2030gold.com. Click on that link in the description box below. The different canals, Panama Canal, that could be choked off. So the Arctic route is a hotly contested piece of, well, real estate in the oceans, because this allows China and Russia to navigate the entire circumpolar up there without any interference from the U.S. Navy. U.S. Navy's down in those other choke points, like I say, Malacca Straits. We don't have carrier groups up in the Arctic going around. But the Russians and Chinese have been developing just mad amounts of icebreakers, Arctic gear, Arctic technology, because they're setting up routes and refueling transport cargo. The Arctic route. I encourage you to take a look at what that entails on never touching a choke point controlled by Western powers. Another blast from the past. History. Peter Onge bringing this one to us. Apparently, China buys over 90% of Iran's oil exports. Also, China was buying nearly 70% of Venezuela's. Neither are being paid in dollars. Okay, that's just one point to think about. So that's a voracious amount of oil need from China. And I would love to wind you back to the past, pre-Pearl Harbor. What prompted Imperial Japan to go to war with the United States? We embargoed their oil out of Indonesia and froze all of their assets. In the 1930s, Japan imported 50% of its crude oil from the United States and 25% from the Dutch East Indies, which is now Indonesia. And after Japan began its invasion of East Asia, U.S. imposed a trade ban and then froze all aviation fuel and Japanese assets. And they got into the oil embargo at that time as well. They squeezed Japan energy supplies and cut off access to financial services. And that sure looks like the very same thing happening today. But at the very base of it, is this a way to explain away food production losses? And this whole global stage thing that we're seeing right here is nothing more than to give a very valid excuse why your food price is running away. Nothing on the natural side. Crop yield reductions, that was nothing. It was because of the oil embargo. It was because of the cutoff and shipping thing. Don't worry about the declining yields. It was because of those things. Nothing natural, nothing cyclical. You're going to have to point to human causes on this one. How to upset a civilization. Walter Russell here. Frequency and vibration coming back into, well, that center point. The zeta pinch, for those of you understanding plasma physics, or is this fiat currency, sound money, fiat currency, sound money, gold and silver, on that back and forth tug through time? Because it's surprising that so many central banks have been going out on gold in the last 2 to 3 years, like a binge buy, knowing that something was going to change. These banks don't lose money, they create money. And they're moving to a new system, a gold-backed, at least partial system. There's going to be other metals that are included in that as well. But there's been a revision up to 7,000 metric tons. So they had to add another band in there. That's on the right side. So the demand before was going to be somewhere around 5,000 tons, but magically it has increased 2,000 metric tons up to 7,000. Hence the new chart on the right side, the new numbers for you. So what will cause central banks to want 2,000 metric tons more of gold on a forecast this year alone? Gold's overtaken treasuries and central bank forex reserves. You can see that crossover occurring also. Who knows something that they're not telling us? Treasuries dropping, gold holdings increasing. You only do that if you know a new system's coming in. Most purchased: China, Poland, Turkey, India, Brazil, Azerbaijan, Japan, Thailand, Hungary, Singapore, Iraq, Qatar, Russia, and UAE. All gold massive buyers. And even if you add up all of the most sold, you're not even coming to a fraction of what's being bought. And if you notice in the light blue right in the center, gold's price has risen 2.6x, and there's still that much voracious buying. Global debt, this is the big kicker here. This is really where rubber meets the road on this. The amount of global debt has 348 trillion. Yeah, I'll say that again, 348 trillion. And that was Q4 of 2025. It's risen since this chart's come out. This is insanity. Like the total amount of all GDP in the entire planet is that red line. And we're at something like 3x of total GDP for the entire planet in the debt. So who's going to pay this back? How's it going to get paid? Well, when's it ever going to get paid back? It's never going to get paid. That's the whole thing. There needs to be a reset from this. Absolutely, it does. You can't have this kind of madness continue forever. I mean, there's only so many places you can slam the debt, and the BRICS nations are not it currently. The fourth turning is here. And I do believe we are at the fourth turning, at the very end, turning to a new system. And of all things going on the planet, this is the only possible thing that could bring us into a full A, market meltdown, but B, a full economic reset. It's the only thing that could give revalue like authenticity to something, because it was so damaged, it was so destroyed, it was so misvalued that the only thing we can do is now go to a new system and revalue everything. Absolutely. So what's it going to take to get to that point where everything in the previous world as of last week would be misvalued or misallocated based on what's happening this week, next week, or in a couple of weeks? Like at the end of whatever this is occurring right now, the new system shall emerge, the phoenix from the ashes. It'll all have to be repriced and revalued. Anyway, may you live in interesting times. I appreciate your valuable time sticking with me in the video. Thank you so much for being here. If supply chains go down, you're going to want to grow some of your own food. Seeds, that's the way you do it. TrueLeafMarket.com. Heirloom or organic seeds for any grow zone on the planet. Get your garden on. And also 4-week food supply or the 72-hour food kit, either. My Patriot Supply and Adapt 2030. Those links are in the description box below. And every purchase you make helps keep me on air, bringing you more information just like this. Please share with your friends and family. You got to grab the link and physically plug it in other places to share it. And until the 3rd, bye for now.